Hey, happy Monday, everyone. For
What's
some
going on,
people,
guys?
it's a motivational Monday. For others, it's a mindful Monday. But if you're with us, you know that it's another Monday rundown here on Say That channel, where Winston and I get
Say
to talk
that.
about all the things that we don't normally get to talk about on our Wednesday shows. And then we look to other content creators and other thought leaders to hear what they've got to say about today's topic. Keep bringing in the questions, guys. You guys have some really good questions for us. And so let's see what today's topic is. I'm really excited to see it. Is it important to vocalize our hidden emotions? I'm going to go ahead and just say yes.
This one definitely seems easy.
True. It is important to vocalize our hidden emotions. Otherwise, they'll stay repressed, and then they'll probably show up in another place, probably not in the ideal place to be showing up. Who you share your hidden emotions to and when you share your hidden emotions, I think, are also important and things to consider. If you're going to share your emotions with somebody who might be triggering those emotions, you may want to ask them, is now a good time for us to chat? When can we talk? I want to talk to you about some stuff that I've been thinking about or feeling or what have you. You always want to give people the opportunity and the space to make space for themselves to have those kinds of conversations. But ultimately, I think it's important. It's important to have them, even though you're scared. I recently went through this myself, having to share some emotions, and I was scared. But you feel so much better afterwards. You just feel so much better. So that's my 2 cents.
No, I'm definitely have to agree with you 100%. I certainly can attest to what it feels like to have things and hold them in and not share. And not even the negative emotions, even positive emotions, like you really care for someone or feel a way about someone, and just it eats you up not letting that out. So on every level, I feel like if you're having to repress or hide what you are feeling, I don't think it's a positive thing as a whole. I think it's best to get that out there. I like what you said though, Jay. I like the idea. I know we had listened to a Simon Sinek talk once, and he talked about kind of getting permission to have, if it's an uncomfortable conversation, but even I think even if it was a positive thing, it might just be great to get permission from a person, because you do want to ensure that they're in a space to receive or have. And I know for myself, I've found that that's been very helpful for someone to say, hey, I have something, maybe to your point, Jay, something difficult I'd like to talk about, something I'm having some anxiety to talk to you about, helps open me up to go, oh, wow, I'm maybe, is the word empathetic or apathetic about what you may be feeling and able to receive it better. If I
you become more empathic about it.
Empathetic, right? Okay, yeah. So yeah, I feel like opening up the door by asking, it's a great way to have a challenging conversation if you have some emotions you'd love to share but can't get it out. Yeah.
All right. Well, we're not the only ones. Yes. We are fan favorites of our friends over at the School of Life. And so
Take us to school.
Yes, take us to school. I'm really excited to hear what they've got to say.
Let's do it.
One of the simplest and most useful exercises that psychotherapy has gifted to us is known as the empty chair technique. A client who's been wrestling with their feelings towards someone is gently requested to stop discussing them in the third person and is instead invited to face a chair and start talking to this bit of furniture as if it were, to all intents, the specific troubling person in their life, perhaps a long dead absent father, a neglectful mother, or a traitorous so-called friend. Many of us spend a good deal of time ruminating on difficult people in the recesses of our minds. We say that so-and-so really deserves a comeuppance, or that we'd love to give X or Y a taste of what we actually think. We find ourselves returning to them again and again late at night and on the journey to work, their offences interrupting our sleep and spoiling our digestion. And yet we rarely speak with any degree of clarity or sincerity, out of a fear of retribution, a dread of vulnerability, a pessimism as to the chances of being understood, or perhaps stubbornly ingrained good manners. The feelings remain in us in a latent form, contributing to a layer of static frustration that damages our health and lends a compulsive quality to our moods. Now, under the aegis of a therapist, we can give form to our cloudy annoyance. Once we move past the hesitation at the particular strangeness of discoursing with a seat, we may find that we are a great deal more eloquent than we supposed, far more sure of what we needed to say, far more at home with letting the world energetically know how things look through our eyes. Dad, why did you have children if you couldn't even be bothered to get to know them? Why did you think that your responsibility stopped at providing for them materially? Chris, why do you pretend that you don't want to be intrusive when in fact you just never take an interest in me, despite the hours that I've listened to your troubles? All this might not seem so different from previous remarks like, I'm pretty angry with X or Y, but the impact of a concrete articulation and a public audition is of a different order. Anger is a poison, and to speak it is to drain it of its malevolent force. We falsely imagine that the only speeches we can ever usefully make are to flesh and blood, attentive listeners. In truth, it may matter far less that we are heard than that we have a chance to speak. The empty chair technique is liable to be especially helpful to those of us who had to grow up to be extremely good boys and girls. There may be few opportunities to be anything but when dad is an alcoholic or has a violent temper, mum is neglectful, or a sibling is very ill. We may lack any knowledge of how to complain because in our formative period, we sensed correctly that our survival depended upon meekness and good humor. We learned to smile and appease when we would have needed a long wail at the unfairness and cruelty of it all. Our silence may have won us a safe enough passage into adulthood. Its ongoing nature threatens to ruin the remaining years. We may fear that we won't be able to get too far into a speech without either collapsing into humiliating tears or escalating into unmanageable fury. The empty chair technique can reassure us on both fronts. There can be ways of speaking without shouting, of saying no without being alarming, of standing up for ourselves without coming across as entitled or unworthy. We can assert our needs without bringing about the catastrophe we fear. And we can start right now, without even waiting for a psychotherapist, by looking across the room to the nearest available chair and asking, who should be sitting there? And what have I needed to tell them for the longest time?
That was so good.
Yeah. Well.
Once again, thank you, School of Life. I have practiced on friends. So I'll have one of my girlfriends listen to me as I try to voice these thoughts that have been in my head for a while. I don't say it to them as if they are the person, but I may say well, I want to say something like this, and so I'll give it a go. So I think, and I've found that really helpful because I tell people all the time, you are allowed. I'm giving you permission to have multiple feelings at the same time. And I think that's what we're typically trying to tease out, right? It's you're actually feeling more than one emotion. It's not that's one thing, or maybe it's one thought, but it's created lots of different emotions, which I think is why it gets a little confusing because you have to unpack all of them to get to the point of what it really comes down to.
Whatever it is. Yeah.
So anyway, I have found that really helpful, but I feel if I talk to a chair as if the person was sitting in the chair, that's another level up that I think would give me confidence for when I do really want to have the conversation. And I loved even the examples they gave. I mean, it's more than just your parents. I mean, it could be a conversation with a friend, not just a loved one in the family is what I was thinking, or significant others. Could be a colleague even, right? So
Yeah. No, this was definitely really good. It's funny, as they were saying, because what I believe I understood they were describing about kind of putting that person there and talking to them, I've imagined myself going through scenarios. An example for me recently is a guy that at the gym I work out with, and just things he'd been doing had been bothering me. And I found myself later in the day kind of playing scenarios back out in my head, similar, I guess, in terms of saying, what would I have said? And something I listened to, which because I really wanted to understand why this was in my head. Why am I in my head about this guy? And something that I listened to talked about this idea of me growing up and being bullied at certain points, but just this idea now that I'm paying attention to that, and I'm associating him as a bully, and something in me at this stage in my life feels like I could defend people or defend myself, and so I'm like being drawn to that aspect of it. This thing in me now that was bullied or thinks whatever wants to step up and defend. But it was really interesting because I couldn't understand again why hours later this person was still on my mind. And so anyway, listening to what they just said, it helped me realize that it's something I was doing, which was talking to them in my head, not necessarily in the most positive way though. it was definitely playing it out in not the best way. But if I could intentionally approach it as, hey, I am going to speak to this person, and I am going to sit them down and have a conversation with them as opposed to how I was handling it, it helped just give me some clarity right there. Because I was kind of scolding myself for going through that in my head. And this kind of like gave me permission, but in a way that, hey, it's because you were doing it in not the healthiest way. It's probably why I was rejecting it. Because again, in my head, I'm fighting this person, or I'm upset and angry, and it didn't seem like that's what they were describing that you should be doing. It's expressing the things you want to express. And truth be told, I kept finding myself saying, I'm going to anger similarly to what I believe this person is doing towards others, so I'm no better than them, in the sense like you can't bully a bully. It's how I worked it out in my head. It's like if I'm there trying to enforce my force onto him, I'm doing essentially what I think he is going around doing to other people. And I kept kind of running into a wall there. And this to me was almost like an answer I didn't even realize I was looking for. Because I do want to have the conversation, but not in the way that I was going about it. And again, not even the real person, just the chair version of him.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like again, not maybe it gets to that point. But for this, it was literally me just sitting there go, I can talk to him in a chair.
Yeah.
And see what I actually and see what I say. Because truth be told, again, I didn't know what I was gonna say to him besides force. You know what I mean? It wasn't like I sat there and emotionally worked through this. It was certainly I got to a place of emotional force as well. So this was really good for me to see. Like that's not where that needs to end up.
Yeah, I love that.
Awesome video. Yeah, really great video.
Thank you, School of Life. Man, you guys are doing it again. Look, guys, let us know what you thought in the comments. We love to hear from you. Please keep those questions coming in. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell so you don't miss another one of our episodes. Honestly, it's the thing that you can do. It doesn't cost you anything, but it does help our conversation get to more people. Until next week, as always, remember that you deserve the good life. Say that.
We'll see you guys. Thank you.